Every few days these days, the country is waking up to horrific headlines from Jammu. The Doda encounter has been only the latest example of its kind. Jammu has clearly become the new Kashmir when it comes to Pakistan. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. On a special broadcast today, we ask who's killing our soldiers. The image you see on your screen is that of Captain Brijesh Thapa, a young man in his 20s, only one of several young men to have sacrificed his life for India at the front line of duty. Even today, as I speak to you, there has been fresh firing in the area of Doda where this encounter took place. Those are the images you see of a school. Whether it's choppers in the skies, village defense committees on the ground, soldiers or police officers, there's a massive manhunt to try and pin down the terrorists who have clearly infiltrated earlier. And questions are being asked as to what's different this time around, because there is something different. The terrorists who are doing this seem highly trained. There is some intelligence that suggests that they could be either guided by the Pakistan army or could be retired regulars of the Pakistan army. In the meantime, in the images you see, a brave colonel of the army is bidding a final farewell to his son. That's Captain Thapa's parents you see there, who ended that heartbreaking farewell with chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai. In the meantime, politics in the Kashmir Valley is heating up, even as intelligence believes that this is the imprint of Jaish-e-Mohammed with some guidance from the Pakistan army regulars. There is a battle line that is emerging between Jammu and Kashmir's top cop and political parties. Mr. Swain recently pointed a finger at what he called so-called mainstream parties, accusing them of enabling Pakistan. The parties have hit back. Mehbooba demanded his resignation. Omar Abdullah says that those who should have been combating terrorism, he referred to a particular advisor in the Lieutenant Governor's office, was out playing golf. In short, it is a very grim situation in both Jammu and Kashmir. And I want to introduce our panel today as we look at what's actually happening. How do we explain what's happening? There are two things that are happening. There is the military dimension, the security dimension of what's happening, and there is the somewhat unprecedented battle between a top police officer and the political parties in the Kashmir Valley. Tanvir Sadiq, leader of the National Conference, is with us. We hope Pathania of the BJP is with us shortly as well. In the meantime, we have SP Vaid, who's also, of course, served as Director General of Police of Jammu and Kashmir, is with us. Welcome, sir. And General Hasnain, who has a very incisive piece in the Indian Express on what's going on in Jammu, former General Officer Commanding of the 15th Corps, is with us as well. I would, however, like to start by paying homage to those who have lost their lives at the front line of duty, and also to play out for our audience a small video clip, which I think encapsulates both the heartbreak and the ethos of the military. These are the parents of Captain Thapa, one of the 5 security personnel who lost their lives in the line of duty in the Doda encounter. Take a look.
भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय.
And the fact that a father can raise those slogans, even as he says farewell to his son, I think that says so much, much more than I can certainly effectively. Even as I'm speaking to you, there is news coming in of 2 terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in the Kashmir Valley in Kupwara. So you have both of the regions hotting up. General Hasnain, I'll start with you. You wrote in your Indian Express column, and I borrowed that line, Jammu has become the new Kashmir when it comes to Pakistan's focus. Why is that? And secondly, do we have enough basis to believe that Pakistan's army is directly involved in this? And I ask this because look at the timing. We're a few days short of the Kargil War 25th anniversary. That was a war where Pakistan denied that it had sent its soldiers. Later, it was established beyond any doubt that the Northern Light Infantry, soldiers of the Pakistan Army, were directly involved in that operation. Those who are describing the casualties that have been taken in this encounter with terrorists are saying these are no ordinary terrorists. Pakistan-backed, Afghanistan-trained, some guidance of Pakistan's own army, own regulars seems to be there. What's your take, sir?
Thank you, Barkha. Thank you. And first of all, my deepest regrets for the loss of lives, as always. The scenes you have just put up here, Colonel Thapa, his young son, the late Captain Thapa. Colonel Thapa happens to be from my regiment, 11 Garhwal Rifles, and he happens to be a cadet of mine. He was my cadet in 1981, so I feel very, very deeply for the family. Having said this, let me come to this question of the original question you asked, why Jammu? Let me pen that for a little later, but I will first touch this issue of being very close to the anniversary of Kargil. 26th, we have got 26th of July, we have got Kargil Divas. And I need to, I think, warn people. This thing is entirely hotting up to ensure that 25th anniversary of the victory on Kargil, something big happens. Something big happens, and we need to be very, very careful about this. As much as we can secure ourselves, we must, because we have got lots of devious minds sitting on the other side who are planning this out. Having said that, to come back to the original question, why Jammu? Obviously, last couple of years, Kashmir, as I've always been saying, has been very secure. I'm sure DGP Vaid Saab will agree with me. Very, very secure, because the center of gravity was Kashmir. And the second thing which people need to understand is that Jammu was hotted up for 16, 17 years. After that, it quieted down. From 2009 onwards, last 15 years, Jammu has been quiet. As a result, our deployment, our focus has all been basically threat-based. It's based on the threats which have emerged, and that is why we have remained in Kashmir-centric. Now, suddenly, they've discovered that they can perhaps focus a little on Jammu and put us on the back foot. Obviously, lots of accusations, allegations to say that we have taken our eyes off Jammu. That's not so. But it always happens that your deployment and your focus goes to areas where there's a larger threat. So Jammu has definitely been always on our scanner, but it will take us a little time to redeploy forces, reorientate forces, get our intelligence grid going, the manner in which we want it to function. So this is a huge problem. My last point here on this is the issue of the direct involvement of the Pakistan Army. I am one of those who recalls clearly in my memory 1999, the month of July, 6th of July, when it started, the Fedayeen action started. We knew for certain that this area of Handwara, leading from Handwara up to the Lolab area, and I'm sure Vaid Saab would remember it, was infested with about 40 or 50 terrorists in exactly the same way. Large contacts that we had there. And invariably, we felt the quality of the contact was always high. This seems to be a repetition, because that is the time we were very clear that the leadership which came was a set of serving Pakistan Special Forces officers. Something similar could emerge.
Hang on, I need to hold you to that thought. You are actually suggesting that it's not just retired regulars of the Pakistan Army. You believe that the guerrillas, the terrorist guerrillas who are inside the Pir Panjal mountains at this point, a massive manhunt is underway as we speak to nab them, to pin them down. These could be serving regulars of the Pakistan Army, General Hasnain.
See, this allegation I cannot prove. But
you feel it's possible. You're saying it's possible.
Why? Because you see, something had to be done quickly and had to have high quality kind of output. That can only be delivered by someone who's a special forces guy or maybe a well-trained infantryman. Now, if you go back to retired people, yes, it is possible that retired ex-servicemen are there. They may have retired a year, 2 years earlier. It's easier to deny it with them also, serving officers, serving personnel. The problem will be the footprint will become evident after some time. So, this is a trade-off between, there is a Pakistan Army element there. Whether retired or serving, it is there definitely.
In other words, we are talking not just about the usual Pakistan proxy war where trained terrorists are pushed in, are the infiltrators, Mr. Vaid. We are talking about either retired or serving, but somebody trained as a soldier. That is actually what General Hasnain is saying. A para commando, an infantryman, something is happening here that is not usual, that is not typical. Mr. Vaid.
Good evening, Barkha. In fact, I will also start with paying my respects to the martyrs. What General Hassan is saying, in fact, I, I completely agree with him. It is what is happening in this side of Pir Panchal, Jammu region, is not something ordinary terrorist act. If you see the pattern, look at the
Hmm.
precision with which the attacks are taking place. Look at the see wherever attack takes place, there when retaliation takes place, there is some casualty from the other side. The immediately after the attack, they are merging, and you are not getting any wind of these terrorists. Look at what happened in the Rajouri Punch, then what happened in Mashedi, Katua, what happened 2 days back in Doda. Now, it is highly trained professional work, the way it is being done, and with precision and without any harm to them. So, in fact, there are reports that some of them are from Pakhtunkhwa area of Pakistan, who have experience and have worked with the Taliban in Afghanistan, are training there. Uh, the kind of uh, weaponry, the communication, the armored pairing bullets, the night vision device on these American M4 rifles, then precision with which it is being, in spite of our captain and army jawans protected with the BP patka and BP jacket. They, I am told, they got hit here. Look at the precision. It is sniper attack. Can
Yeah.
you be so precise that you are hiding and you are ambushing somebody, and you are he's protected by the bulletproof gear, and you are hitting him here at the spot where that BP thing is not there. So look at the precision. So I actually completely agree with the General Hasnan. This is not an ordinary terrorist work. Something of very high caliber. So whether army
Hmm.
regulars are there, whether army personnel who have only retired a month, a year back or 2 years back, but given with these highly sophisticated weaponry and communication, which is so difficult to intercept, that is why you are seeing this pattern. And now, if you give me another 2 3 minutes, I just want to emphasize, after having suffered in Kashmir Valley after abrogation of Article 370 and Operation All Out, I think realizing when the establishment realized that there are gaps in Jammu region, which was natural to happen. I was IG Jammu from 2004 to 2008, and I remember with somewhere around 7 8, almost Jammu region was terrorism free, and the
Yeah.
last 15 years, this region was terrorist free. So that is why. Obviously, because troops are need based, so there was a requirement elsewhere. They were taken out, whether it is RR,
Yeah.
CAPF, and even SOG. So, how do you ease pressure from Kashmir and eyeball to eyeball deployment in Indo-China border? This is, you disturb Jammu region. There are gaps. If you are able to infiltrate, disturb the
Yeah.
Jammu whole province, and it's a being hilly, you need so much of troops because one battalion, it gets lost in a hilly area like anything. So you need huge
I,
number of troops, and also puncture the government narrative of having completely wiped out terrorism after abrogation of Article 7. This was the right way to do if you are a Pakistani establishment officer.
That is an important point that you're saying that Pakistan's also interested in challenging the political narrative that has emerged after the abrogation of 370, and I want to take that to Tanvir in a moment. But Omar Abdullah, the National Conference leader, is among those who has raised questions about the response with a very direct question: "Hukumat kar kya rahi hai?" Take a look, and Tanvir, I'll come to you right after that.
इन हालात में हम मजबूर होते हैं पूछने पे कि आखिरकार हुकूमत कर क्या रही है। उन्होंने दावे तो बहुत किए, हर बार जब हमला होता है तो कहते हैं कि मिलिटेंसी इज ऑन इट्स लास्ट लेग्स, ये मिलिटेंसी का खात्मा होते हुए हमें नज़र आ रहा है, लेकिन हमें नज़र नहीं आता। इन्हें कैसे नज़र आता समझ में नहीं आ रहा। लगातार ये जो किलिंग्स का सिलसिला रहा है और इसके लिए अभी तक हुकूमत में किसी ने ये नहीं कहा कि इसको रोकने के लिए क्या इकदाम उठाए जाएंगे। हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि हालात को देखते हुए उन पे काबू लाने के लिए कुछ सही कदम जो हैं उठाए जाने चाहिए और किसी न किसी की तो जिम्मेदारी इसमें ठहरानी होगी।
किसी ना किसी की जिम्मेदारी ठहरानी होगी। तनवीर, यहाँ पे आपने जनरल हसनैन की बात सुनी, एसपी वैद की बात सुनी, वो कहते हैं जिम्मेदारी पाकिस्तान की है और किसी की नहीं. When Omar raises that question, who is he, who is the National Conference holding accountable for this very grim situation that is unfolding? There's been, as I said, an encounter in Kupwara in North Kashmir today. Jammu, we already know, even fresh firing today in Doda. Tanvir, when Omar says, "Kaun zimmewar hai?" We know kaun zimmewar hai. It's Pakistan. It's Pakistan-backed terrorists. It's possibly Pakistan-backed soldiers now, you've heard the experts say. Who is Omar and the NC holding responsible?
See, Barkha, before my colleagues just said, I will pay my homage, and it's been 30 years since we've been doing this. It's just that Jammu has been hotting up, and we never expected soldiers to be killed the way they are right now in that region. Coming back to the question, I will not doubt any of my respected co-panelists, General Hasnain and Dr. Vaid, because they have served in Jammu and Kashmir and they have seen militancy very closely. And I know, and I will not doubt when they say the way these terrorists are coming towards that region and with what precision they are trying to attack the security forces. I'll not go in that. And similarly, I would not expect them to come into the political arena. And that is where the problem is. The problem is if they have a cutout duty to do is to ensure that the terrorist or terrorism is stopped and to ensure a secure atmosphere. And I know when they were around, the UPA was in the government. And I also remember how on every attack, we were accused of being careless. We were accused of being very soft on terrorism. But surprisingly, when now in the last 3 years or so, you have 50 soldiers being killed, majority of them from the Jammu regions. You have suddenly 6 attacks in 1 month. And if you're still saying that you're looking at excuses that, maybe it is a regular army, maybe it is somebody from Pakistan, it is terrorism, whether it was 30 years back or it is now. It is the same way we are fighting it, the way we used to fight earlier also. The point is when Mr. Omar Abdullah says somebody needs to be held responsible, it is the present government. The government that pats it back says that militancy is over because it is the same government which said that after the abrogation of Article 370, not even a single, I still remember one of the ministers and in fact the BJP leaders saying that militancy is at its last leg and then you'll have no militancy at all. These are the things these are the people that need to be asked. Why is it still happening? And the number 2, the problem right now is the absence of people in the whole attack on the terrorism. You don't have a political setup. I'll tell you, General Hasnain was in the army and Dr. Vaid was in the police. There is a lot of difference between a politician going to the public than an army man or a soldier going to them, because it is everywhere that they would hesitate to come in front of officers in uniform. But people, I'll tell you, in Jammu regions, there are Gujars, there are Bakarwas, there are different.
Yeah.
Those people would only come to people who are elected, who are amongst themselves. And that is how you need to end militancy, not by just having a vacuum of last 10 years.
I take your I take your point about the political vacuum, but with or without politicians, Pakistan has always done this. Like you said, ये 30 साल से आप देख रहे हो, मैं देख रही हूँ, General Hasnain देख रहे हैं, Mr. Vaid साहब देख रहे हैं, right? My question to you, Tanvir, is even if there was no 370 abrogation, or there is a 370 abrogation, I see Mr. Pathania of the BJP is also with us. Namaskar, sir. Pakistan will not stop what it's doing.
And
right?
that
The political.
and that is the main point, because none other than the home minister of this country accused the mainstream of doing this, because at that time he said that whatever happened in the last few a decade or so was because of the mainstream, and that time he did not accuse Pakistan. Today they're accusing Pakistan. So you can't, whenever it suits you, talk about Pakistan. Whenever it suits you to say, even the top cop of J&K police accuses the mainstream.
Let me play that. Let me actually play that statement out, because one of the things you said was that you don't enter the domain of expertise of General Hasnain and SP Vaid, and you do not believe that they should venture into political space. Now, Mr. Swain, the top cop of Jammu and Kashmir, issued this statement. Let's play it out for you and come back then to Mr. Pathania.
Many may argue that it is the fear of the state that kept the people inside. But believe me, it is not the full truth. The full truth is Pakistan successfully came to infiltrate all important aspects of our civil society. Thanks to the regional so-called mainstream politics in the valley, there is overwhelming evidence to show that many had honed the art of running with the hare and hunting with the hound to a near science that left both the common men and the security men bewildered, frightened, and confused. Visiting homes of killed terrorists and expressing sympathy in public became the new normal. While elimination of new recruits to terrorism was allowed and tacitly encouraged, those who facilitated the recruitment, arranged finances, were never investigated.
Now, this is an unusual statement for a senior police officer to make, for sure. But before I come back to General Hasnain and to SP Vaid, Aris Pathania ji of the BJP is with us. Sir, you missed the earlier part of our conversation. We were talking about how the precision with which our soldiers are being targeted points to the involvement of the Pakistan Army, whether serving regulars or retired regulars. But Tanvir Sadiq of the National Conference says that the government, the present ruling government, owes some answers, because security, in the end, the buck stops with the government. Secondly, when you claim that there has been massive change, massive improvement after the abrogation of 370, how would you explain what's happening today? Please respond, sir.
Yes. Barkha, first of all, a very good evening to everybody across the board, and a very good evening to everybody who's watching your show directly.
Yes.
Coming directly at the crux of the veteran issue, militancy is a decades old, and indoctrination is more decades old an issue in Jammu and Kashmir. One thing is, which is very clear and categoric, that at least we have a government in place which doesn't differentiate between permissible and an impermissible category of terrorism. So terrorism is particularly a taboo, that it may be terror financing, it may be terror promoting, it may be joking and virtually betting for terrorists, and working for a soft ground or a middle ground also. So the parameters which are used, which are employed to measure the degrees of terrorism, so there's a considerable decline. This is not what Bharatiya Janata Party says. This is not what the Bharat Sarkar says. This is what the international agencies and international experts say. So, coming directly at the recent spurt of events which have happened, we don't shirk from our duty, from our honors to protect the lives and limbs of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Though the terrorists, they have changed their modules. First of all, they changed to hybrid sort of that militancy. Then they changed their module to dropping the materials from drones. And now this is a third module, which somewhat the DGP has coded that they come from a relatively peaceful areas in Himachal, Punjab, and then virtually sneak into the territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So one part of the affair remains managing them on the border. Second part remains managing them within the Jammu and Kashmir. Third part remains that managing them where they are trained. So I think the government and the security forces and the armored personnel, I think they are doing the job, and we have full confidence in their ability in their
Do you,
in
do
their way
you,
things
do
are
you,
being dealt by them. But
of course. Can I ask you a
on this,
question? Can I ask you a
please,
question?
please,
Do you
please.
do you agree? And I need to go to Mr. Vaid and General Hasnain right after that. Do you agree with Mr. Swen's comments on, he used the phrase so-called mainstream parties have helped Pakistan to infiltrate every walk of, he meant the Kashmir Valley, not so much Jammu, but even in Jammu, some questions are being asked about local involvement, and I'll come to that in a moment. But do you think a police officer should make that comment? Mehbooba Mufti says he should resign, or National Conference says it's none of his, he shouldn't be entering the political space. Aren't these kind of differences between the security forces and the political mainstream also in the end leaving Pakistan with the advantage? This is the time for a united front. This is not the time for these divisions.
One issue and the basic running code which the Director General Police has flagged.
Yes.
May I put it in the same vein that who
Yes.
called Burhan Wani as a partier? Who raised questions over the execution of Afzal Guru, the main conspirator of the parliament attack? Who went to the funerals of the dreaded militants? Who condoled the deaths while sitting at places and publicly issuing lullabies and publicly making such statements which virtually created a confusion amongst the people? So I use the word terrorism is a taboo. We need to be very clear in the category. We are mainstream politicians. We swear in the Constitution of India. We swear to go by the Indian system and the Indian contour of laws and regulations also. So one thing, what's bad in it? What's bad in it if he flags that issue? You see, politicians are people who enjoy a bigger acceptability and bigger space among the hearts and the minds of people because they are elected directly by the people. They have a direct contact with the people. If they act, behave, and the way the DGP has pointed out, I think this is a serious moot point. He has not named anything, and some of the politicians have reacted. This is the same case as if that thief, that चोर की दाढ़ी में शायद कोई तिनका है, शायद इसीलिए शायद कोई तकलीफ हो रहा है. That's not. But let them respond.
Let me get a very brief interjection because I really want to come back to the security perspective and what Pakistan is doing. Tanvir, the soft on terrorism allegation, you've heard the examples from Burhan Wani to Afzal Guru. He says that Mr. Swen didn't name anybody. He didn't say National Conference, Mehbooba Mufti. He may have meant somebody else. We don't know who he meant. Why has it been taken so personally by Kashmir parties?
See, my friend from BJP doesn't understand that he has pointed figures even on his A team and B team who were just, sitting with Jamatis and all these terrorist leaders just before elections. So while he may have pointed fingers at us, he has pointed fingers at BJP and its allies also. But that's not the point. The point is Kashmir needs a political setup, whether somebody likes it or not. It's been many years. If you want to have some semblance of normalcy on the ground, if you have an attack, you have 10,000 reasons to justify that. And that comes from the BJP. But what I am saying is that in absence of an elected government, nothing will be better. The things will get worse. My point, my only question to my friend in the BJP is that because they were the ones who said that after abrogation of Article 370, things will be better. The root cause of militancy is 370. The root cause of terrorism is 370. So if 370 is gone and now it's close to around 5 years, what has changed? If I ask them a question, they'll say, there are millions of tourists who have come. If I ask them a question, why is a soldier dying? You know what? There are now double of Amarnath Yatris who have come. That's not the answer I want. I want an answer that if what you said, that in 2019, what you did, things will improve, the lives of the people will improve. Where is the improvement?
Okay.
Where is the infrastructure? Where is the development? I'll ask you thousands of questions, but I'll only get one answer. And that is that we are either in cohorts with terrorism or we are either Pakistanis or we are terrorists.
We're all proud Indians here on this program. So let's first underline that. And we all care for the security of our country. Let's pick up the last point about political process. General Hasnain, you have been arguing that one aim is to somehow stall the imminent, the restoration of statehood. There have to be elections. There have to be local elections in Jammu and Kashmir to somehow stall that. Because the Lok Sabha elections have been very successful. There has been high turnout. in the Kashmir Valley in particular. And we can leave it for another day what our interpretation is of that turnout. But there have been no boycott calls. None of that has worked. I have met families of militants who have voted in these elections. Now I want you to join the dots with A, the Kargil anniversary, B, the elections, and see the 370 narrative that SP Vaid said Pakistan is keen to question. But the curious thing is, Pakistan looked very absorbed or distracted by its own problems. How do we read the timing of what's suddenly happening? What has happened?
Barkha, this timing business is very interesting, no doubt. A lot of people think that Pakistan is in the midst of a huge crisis, of course. And they've got an economic crisis on their hands. They've got a leadership crisis on their hands. They've got one of the large campaigns and counter-terrorist campaigns, which is going on at the same time. But Pakistan has been used to this. Pakistan's three primary areas of concern on security are the Afghan frontier, its own internal security, and Kashmir. And it has been able to balance between the three of them. When Burhan Wani was killed, the next day, the priority changed and Pakistan switched complete focus towards Kashmir. They've been observing the situation and they've been waiting for this opportunity after 4th of June. They waited for 4th of June to see what the turnout in the by-elections, etc. is going to be. They didn't want to sort of do something which will give an advantage or something to any single party at that time. 9th of June, they particularly timed that strike, and that too a very dastardly strike against pilgrims. They did it at that time. So all this timing is primarily to send home a message. In hybrid war, in proxy war, timings are one of the most important aspects. They could have done this 3 months later, but it wouldn't have mattered at all. This is the time when they had to send home this message. Also establish their own relevance in the eyes of the electorate in Kashmir and in Jammu and Kashmir, to tell them we are still relevant. Pakistan has still got its stakes here. We've got our ability to be able to interfere here. This is what they are actively doing by trying to do this, right? So, to my mind, political narratives are there, no doubt. But politically, more than even the military aspect, it is the political convergence of thoughts, ideas, everyone coming together, going down to the public, getting the support of the public, which is far more important than even the military operations which are going on at the moment. At this time, you cannot be seen to be divided. And unfortunately, this is what is emerging. It seems seemingly like, even in programs like ours.
I agree with you, and Mr. Vaid, that takes me to the comments made by by Mr. Swen in a post that you have previously served in. It's caused a lot of controversy in the Kashmir Valley, and it has created a kind of controversy which, in the tutu meme, Pakistan will only take advantage of these divisions. What do you say, sir?
Barkha, before I answer your question, I just wanted to mention, recalling, if I'm not wrong, the Mashhedi attack happened on 8th July. And 8th July is the Burhan Wani death anniversary, if you recall.
That's right. That's right.
That could be the coincidence, but that is one thing I wanted to.
Yeah.
Coming to your question that Mr. Swan made this, I think he didn't make this statement in the public. I was hearing his interview on one of the channels. He said, I made this while he was addressing the Indian Institute of IIM of Jammu, Indian Institute of Management, Jammu, the students of that institute. He was talking to them about general overall situation of Jammu and Kashmir, and he said, I didn't mean blaming any political party, but what he said largely, I think we all have seen Kashmir, and it is a fact that we must give credit to Pakistan's deep state. It had, in the 90s, if you recall, had successfully infiltrated almost every wing of the civil society of Kashmir, and political parties are they are not no different from civil society. Ultimately, politics also plays within the civil society, and whether
But
you take academic institutions, you take uh, even civil government, you take bar council, you take media. You have been
But
media.
that argument, sir, sorry to interrupt you, has been in the valley, right? Where there is a history of there is a long history of the insurgency in Jammu, in the area which is now the epicenter. Uh, what do you make of the debate around local support? Because their locals are actually armed in village defense committees. We have those images. They're helping today the security personnel hunt down these terrorists. They have shown exemplary courage, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
so
Uh,
so then when people say, oh, they couldn't have done this without local support, if there is local support, if these terrorists have infiltrated, or Pakistan regulars or retired regulars have infiltrated over the last 6 months, somebody has been giving them shelter, right?
yes.
Now, it could be from fear. It could be from fear. It could be at the barrel of a gun. It may not be from ideology. But they couldn't have lasted this long without some local involvement.
Barkha, coming to your particular question about this Jammu region, I don't think you can blame political parties for this. I don't think, absolutely not. And
Exactly.
as I understand, I come from Jammu region. I have worked here in different capacities, even as an IG. Uh, uh, what I understand and what my sources tell me, much of the it is the fact that all these people who are operating in Jammu region are Pakistanis. They are not local terrorists. This argument that they cannot operate without local support, absolutely correct. Terrorists would not have known where Shiv Kodi Shrine is and where the bus would be flying and attacking that bus, which route the bus would be flying. Local support is there, but they have what I am told is some of the boys who from Jammu
Hmm.
region had in the 90s and in the early 2000 had crossed to across the border, who continue to stay in Pakistan, did not come back, probably have been taken over by taken in confidence by the deep state of Pakistan, and they are some of them are with have been seen with them in Mashedi incident, and some of them
Hmm.
have been those who have not come here this side. Some of them have come with them with these foreigners. Some who have not come have their contacts have been used to establish this network, and maybe somewhere coercion is used, somewhere money is used, somewhere even ideology is used. So all these factors are there. They are able to manage for the time being, but I don't think it's going to last for a longer period. We will see. We had seen such thing in the 90s and in the 2000, and very same army and very same JNK police and CAPF were able to get this region free of terrorism. And you will see in the days to come, again, we will have an upper hand over them.
Okay, it's time, unfortunately, for quick last comments. Mr. Pathania, I'll come to you. General Hasnain was saying the 25th anniversary of the Kargil war of Vijay is very near. Something worse could happen. Something could get worse before it gets better. There is definitely the imprint not just of the Jaish, but also of the Pakistan military. Can we hope from our politicians that at least, in this moment, we can have a united front and not this kind of, finger pointing? Mr. Pathania, I can't hear you.
Uh,
Yes,
yes,
I can
Barkha.
now. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Barkha, I think you have hit the right nail on the head. We need, and particularly the need of the our needs, support from each and every side. It means all political parties, all political players, all social groups, and particularly the people of Jammu and Kashmir. You see the sentiment and the spirit of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the way the people are opting for getting themselves recruited into village defense guards. They are getting that weapons also. There was a time when nobody was ready to register himself out of fear or maybe out of sympathy towards the the suicide cause also. We have seen in my area, there I had been MLA from that area, a Muslim man from that area opting for VDG, ultimately fighting, ultimately losing his life, and another brother pouncing and ultimately running after them to make the pans equal. So I think this is a battle which we all need to fight with all camaraderie, with all good spirit, and with all support and cooperation from each and every side. And we will fight it. And particularly the people of Jammu and Kashmir will fight it. And ultimately, the object of Bharat Sarkar also to blot out terrorism from Jammu and Kashmir soil, lock, stock, and barrel. I think this is not only the resolve of the people, but resolve of the Bharat Sarkar also, but now this is the people's resolve also. Let the people, political parties resolve and particularly coordinate to fight this new limb, this new module of the way the people's lives and limbs have been
Yes.
jeopardized. So I think we will, we shall, and we can do it, I think.
Tanvir, I mean, I'm sure that's a sentiment you could agree with.
Disagree for a united effort to fight terrorism, because my party is the one that has faced tremendous damage from the terrorism. I mean, more than 5,000-6,000 of our workers and leaders have been killed after army or the JK police. Ours is the number 3 in the list. So I would totally agree. But the fact that instead of demonizing the national conference or the mainstream, instead of making redundant, you need to put them on the pedestal and make sure that they are made a part of the of a solution, instead of bracketing them into different names and then giving it a bad name and killing it. So I would want that instead of the BJP patting its back, they should ensure that an election is held in Jammu and Kashmir earlier and a statehood is restored, so that there is a political setup which actually ensures that there is peace on the ground.
Okay, General Hasnain, I'm going to give you the last word. Let's end where we started. You said that we need to be very careful. It's your hunch that everything is timed. There is a reason for this timing, right? And that the Kargil anniversary most immediately stands out to you as a milestone, not just for us as a nation, but for us to watch out for in security terms. So I'm going to give you the closing word.
Definitely, Barkha. I reiterate, 26th of July is a black letter day as far as Pakistan is concerned. For the last 25 years, they've been observing our screens and seeing the kind of jubilation that we have been involved with, showing the Pakistan army in poor light, showing our own moral ascendancy with what we achieved in Kargil. This will be a moment when all this Pakistan will be wanting to puncture it. And I dare say there must be some schemes which must be afoot already, and we need to be extremely careful. But in the same light, let me also say that what's happening in Jammu is not something new. We've gone through this several times. We see proxy wars are dynamic in nature. This is what the new generation of military people, police people, politicians, media, everyone has to understand. We have been at it for 35 years. I have been at it for 35 years. And I've seen the kind of dynamic way that this whole thing has developed. One day we are up, one day we are down. We have been on a high since 5th of August 2019. If there are momentary times when you are slightly down, my request to my countrymen, to my political community, to my media, everyone is, don't send messages which are disparaging. Just encourage the army, encourage the nation, encourage the police, encourage everyone. We will get out of it. We've done it too many times before. 2002, the elections were conducted when we had 1,650 terrorist incidents. Now with a couple of incidents, people are talking about postponing the assembly elections. This is something which is out of context completely. And that's the note on which I want to leave. We will overcome this. We've done it too many times before, and we will do it this time too.
I think that's well said, and I do think for those of us who've been around long enough, we remember elections that have taken place literally in the shadow of terrors, in the shadow of terror, in the shadow of the gun. And I think you make an important point that you can't let the terrorists have the last word on holding of those elections, because that would be one of their aims. We leave it there. RS Pathania, Tanvir Sadiq, SP Vaid, and General Hasnain, thank you, and to our audience, thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.